Sunday, March 2, 2026. I want you to do a quick body scan right now.
Oh, that's a great idea to start.
Right. Just take a second. Does the air feel heavy? And I don't mean humidity or the barometric pressure or whatever. I mean the vibe.
The actual tangible energy of the day.
Exactly. If you woke up this morning, looked at your calendar, and just felt this strange magnetic resistance.
Like wading through molasses.
Yes. Not laziness exactly, but a feeling that your internal engine is just flooded.
Yeah.
Well, you are definitely not the only one feeling that today.
No, you're really not. It is a very distinct shift in the atmosphere, isn't it?
It's palpable.
We are tracking a significant change in the collective drive, starting literally today. We are moving out of a period defined by, sharp edges and clear trajectories, and entering a phase that our source material actually describes as a softness in the air.
Which, let's be honest, softness sounds lovely if you're on a beach vacation.
Sure, yeah.
But if you have a job and deadlines, softness sounds a lot like unproductive.
It sounds terrifying to a type A personality.
Completely. But that's exactly what we're here to figure out. Today, we are doing a deep dive into a very specific window of time from right now, March 2nd, all the way through April 9th.
Correct. That's our timeline.
And we're looking at an astrological breakdown of the transit known as Mars in Pisces. And look, because astrology can sometimes feel a little abstract or like a foreign language to some, we're pairing it with a fable.
I love this approach, by the way.
It really works.
Yeah.
The astrological breakdown is from Tarot by Haby, and the fable is called The Season of Quiet Blades, set in this fictional kingdom called Valmere.
It's a really unusual pairing, but it grounds the concepts so well because the astrology gives us the technical specs of the energy, if you will.
Right.
While the story gives us the how, the actual simulation of living through it. And the overarching mission for this deep dive is to understand a specific phrase that kept popping up in the research notes.
Intuitive precision.
Yes. Intuitive precision.
I highlighted that exact phrase too, because usually when I think of precision, my brain goes to logic.
Of course. Math, science.
Exactly. I think of lasers, spreadsheets, architectural blueprints, hard, undeniable lines. But here, we're talking about precision coming from feeling.
Right. And that right there is the friction point. That is exactly why people feel so weird today. To understand this, we really have to look at the planetary architecture of what's happening.
The nuts and bolts of it.
Right. We have Mars moving into Pisces.
Okay, let's unpack this right out of the gate. Because on paper, this sounds like the worst roommate situation imaginable. Mars is the god of war.
Mars is the engine. It's the absolute archetype of action, strategy, conquest. It's separation.
The me versus the world energy.
Exactly. It wants to push. It wants to sever and achieve. It is a straight, unwavering line from point A to point B.
It's the part of us that downs a double espresso and just smashes through the Monday to-do list.
Precisely. Now take that burning, aggressive engine and drop it squarely into the middle of the ocean. That is Pisces. Pisces is the sign of spirituality, of emotion, and oneness. It wants to flow. It wants to dissolve boundaries and connect everything. So you have the planet of go, go, go entering the sign of let it be.
So it's basically like trying to sprint in waist-deep water. You're expending a massive amount of energy, throwing your arms around, but you aren't actually moving the way you normally do.
That is the perfect somatic description of this transit. When Mars enters Pisces, motivation stops being this steady, reliable stream of gasoline. Instead, the source material specifically tells us that motivation arrives in waves.
Which is absolutely terrifying for anyone who loves a schedule.
Oh, it ruins a schedule.
I can just imagine, sorry, boss, I can't finish the quarterly report. The wave hasn't hit me yet.
Yeah, that won't fly in most offices. It can be incredibly challenging to manage. But the text mentions specific symptoms that you might notice starting today.
Like what?
Well, you might feel significantly less inspired to assert your personal agenda. There's a sudden, almost reflexive tendency to avoid confrontation. And this specific word comes up a lot in the notes. Porousness.
Porousness. Like a sponge.
In a way, yeah. It means the psychic skin that usually separates my feelings from your feelings gets thinner.
Oh, I see.
You become permeable. You might be walking down the street feeling totally fine past someone who is having a terrible day and feeling angry, and suddenly you are angry, and you don't even realize you've just absorbed their mood.
Wow, that explains so much. I mean, I think we've all had those days where we just snap at someone and then think, Wait, I wasn't even mad a second ago. Where did that come from?
Exactly. You soaked it up. And because of this sensitivity, your productivity is going to look really uneven.
Yeah, the source explicitly warns about that. It says if we try to push ourselves like a machine right now, if we try to force that Mars square peg into the Pisces round hole, frustration is going to build very quickly.
You'll just burn out
Yeah.
because you're fighting the very medium you're swimming in.
So the advice isn't necessarily to stop working altogether, but to change how we work.
Right. The advice is to focus on intention rather than speed. Your actions need to become guided by instinct and resonance rather than impulse or habit.
Okay, so that's the theory. That's Mars in Pisces, intuitive precision. But
Yeah.
what does that actually look like in practice? Because it's super easy to say, go with the flow on a podcast.
Or in a deep dive discussion, yes.
Right, in our deep dive. But it's really hard to do when the actual world demands results. And this is where the story comes in, the season of quiet plates.
This story does such a fantastic job of bringing the data to life. It transports us directly to the kingdom of Valmere.
And Valmere is, for all intents and purposes, the anti-Pisces.
Very much so.
It starts out as this kingdom forged entirely by iron will. The text literally says hesitation was weakness, reflection was indulgence. I actually love this one line. Children were taught to strike flint before they were taught to read the sky.
It paints such a vivid picture. It's a society built entirely on unyielding Mars energy, constant action, constant defense. Value is measured only by output and conquest.
Until the shift happens. And what's fascinating is that it's not a big explosion.
No fireworks.
It's not an invading army breaking down the gates.
Hmm.
It's just described as a softness in the air. The river slows down. The war horses refuse to rear up on the training grounds. It's like the whole physical world just took a deep breath and held it.
And notice who feels it first. It isn't the mystics. It isn't the poets who you might normally expect to pick up on a vibe like that.
Right, it's the military guy.
It's General Kalen Thorne, the absolute archetype of the warrior.
Yeah, he's out on the training grounds, barking orders like he's done for decades, and suddenly his sword arm trembles. And the source makes it very clear, it's not fear, and it's not old age.
It's an inexplicable hesitation.
Exactly.
This is that somatic experience of the astrology we were just talking about. The body is refusing to perform violence because the spirit somehow knows the season has changed. The engine is flooded.
There is this incredible scene on the training grounds that really nailed the concept for me. Kalen is yelling, again, to his new recruits. He's actively trying to force the energy back to normal. And this one young soldier just stops mid-swing.
Just lowers his weapon.
Drops it, stares at his opponent.
And do you remember what he says?
Yeah, he says, I can feel him. His fear.
That is the porousness in action. The boundaries between me and enemy are completely dissolving. In a purely Mars-dominant world, empathy is a massive liability.
It gets you killed on a battlefield.
Exactly. But in this new season, empathy is becoming the primary mode of perception. The soldier physically couldn't strike because he was feeling the blow as if it were landing on his own body.
Which naturally freaks Kalen out completely. He cancels practice. He basically thinks the army is broken. So he goes to the one person in town who might actually understand what's happening, Mira, the woodcarver.
Mira is so crucial here. She represents the integrated Pisces energy. She's an artist, she's sensitive, she's fully tuned into the collective, and she's witnessing a fascinating economic shift in the city that perfectly mirrors this internal shift.
This part was so interesting to me. It shows how this energy affects the actual market. The economy of Valmere just changes overnight. People completely stop buying shields and spear handles from her.
The demand for blunt force tools just evaporates.
Instead, they're showing up asking for flutes, carved birds, prayer beads. The text says they spoke of dreams they had not had the courage to name.
It's a fundamental shift from survival mode to spiritual mode. When the drive to conquer recedes, the drive to create and connect naturally rises to take its place. Mira observes that she could feel the city's emotions like wind through reeds.
Which sounds very poetic, but she also notes practical things, like arguments in the taverns would just fizzle out into silence. People would get all riled up, ready to fight, and then just stop.
Because they would suddenly sense the pain underneath the other person's anger. It is very hard to punch someone in the face when you can vividly feel their heartbreak.
But the council of government of Valmere, they are not happy about this at all. They declare the kingdom weak. They are terrified of an imminent invasion.
Which is a completely valid fear if you're stuck in a Mars mindset. The logic is, if I put down my sword, you will definitely stab me.
But here is the key point from the story. The invasion never came.
because the neighboring realms were feeling the exact same shift. The energy is environmental, it's cosmic. It wasn't just Valmere, the whole world was wading through the same molasses.
That is such a huge lesson. We always think if we slow down, the competition is going to crush us. Someone else will get the promotion or steal a client. But this suggests that the energy is collective.
Precisely. Motivation was coming from feeling rather than logic, everywhere, not just in your house.
So Kalen is really struggling with this new reality. He goes to Mira and bluntly admits, I cannot command what I do not understand. And Mira gives him a gift. Which brings us to the central symbol of our deep dive today, the ash blade.
It's a brilliantly powerful image, a sword carved entirely from pale ash wood. It's balanced, it's beautiful, it looks exactly like a deadly weapon.
Except for one very key detail.
Yeah.
It will not cut flesh.
It's a paradox, a weapon that fundamentally isn't a weapon. Mira hands it to him and tells him precision does not require violence.
Pause. Feel the current before you step into it. That is basically the instruction manual for the ash blade.
It's about completely reframing what action looks like. We are so conditioned to believe that doing something always means exerting force, pushing the heavy rock up the steep hill. Mira is suggesting that true mastery, at least in this specific season, is waiting for the water to rise and just floating the rock.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. That sounds absolutely great for a woodcarver or a monk sitting on a mountain. But Kalen is a general. He has to lead rough, scared men. Can you actually command respect with a wooden toy?
Well, the story doesn't let him off the hook. It forces him to test it immediately. This is the application phase of the fable. A mutiny breaks out.
Right. A group of his soldiers is really unsettled by all the quiet. They are scared. They basically demand a return to the old ways. They start shouting, banging their shields. They want the noise and the aggression because the noise makes them feel safe.
In Kalen's old instinct, his deeply ingrained Mars instinct is to dominate, to just shout louder than them, to crush the dissent immediately. That is literally how he has solved every single problem for 40 years.
But he's got the ash blade at his side now. So he pauses. He doesn't draw his steel sword. He just stands there.
He tunes in. He uses that exact porousness we talked about earlier. He allows himself to feel their dread rippling through his own chest. And instead of blocking it out or attacking it, he acknowledges it.
He speaks to them quietly. He says, we are not abandoning strength. We are refining it.
That is the core message for our listeners today, right there. Moving into a phase of intuition isn't abandoning your strength. It is refining it. Kalen diffuses a literal mutiny, not by conquering the men, but by truly recognizing them.
And the crowd just disperses. No blood drawn, no arrests made. It's emotional intelligence entirely replacing brute strategy.
It's efficiency. That is the precision part of intuitive precision. He solved a potentially deadly problem in 2 minutes by feeling the truth of it, whereas a physical fight might have lasted hours and cost lives.
However, and I'm really glad the source material included this, we have to be realistic. This story isn't saying this is some flawless utopia. There's a definite shadow side to this energy.
We absolutely cannot ignore the trap of Pisces. Because while Kalen is successfully learning this balance, Mira, the supposed expert in feelings, actually starts to drown.
She really does. The text describes her workshop becoming completely cluttered with unfinished carvings. She was what they call overgiving. She was saying yes to everyone who came to her with the feeling.
She was pouring so much of her own energy into everyone else's emotions that she had absolutely nothing left for her own craft or herself. This is the classic pitfall of Mars and Pisces. The text lists the negative symptoms very clearly: passive avoidance, blurred boundaries.
And this one hit me hard: procrastination disguised as patience.
Oh, that is a dangerous one. So common.
Right. Like, I'm just waiting for the vibe to be right before I do this. No, you're just avoiding sending the difficult email.
Exactly. And seeking approval through martyrdom is another big one. Mira was overfunctioning for the entire collective. Kalen actually has to be the one to step in and correct her. He visits her and tells her, you cannot hold the entire kingdom in your hands.
Which is such a great flip of the dynamic. The rigid warrior teaching the fluid mystic about boundaries. It shows that you really need both. You need the deep sensitivity, but you also need the container.
You need the Mars structure to hold the Pisces water. Otherwise, you're just a puddle on the floor. As the source material says, even mundane tasks feel easier when they connect to something meaningful. But if you lose that connection to yourself because you're too busy absorbing the whole world, you dissolve.
So we have the internal shift covered, the social shift, and the warning labels. But the story wraps up with one final massive test. the climax, the storm.
A relentless, brutal storm causes the river to surge and flood the training grounds. Nature itself is overwhelming the rigid structures of the kingdom.
And the villagers immediately revert to their old programming. Pure panic. They're filling sandbags, they're shouting orders at each other, they're trying to fight the water physically.
They are trying to use Mars energy to stop a massive Pisces event. And it fails miserably. You simply cannot fight water with a hammer. The harder they push, the more the water just flows right around them and over them.
Kalen sees all this happening. He feels the itch to command, the urge to just scream at the water to stop. But he resists it. He kneels down by the riverbank. And he realizes something incredibly simple. It seeks the lower ground.
And here is the ultimate strategy. Redirect it. Do not resist it.
Instead of building more walls that are just going to fail, he orders his men to dig channels. He guides the rushing water into unused fields nearby.
Think about the metaphor here for the listener. The energy, the flood, the intense emotion, the unpredictable waves of motivation. It's coming, whether you like it or not. If you build a rigid wall of, I must stick to my schedule no matter what, it will crash right through it and you will just feel defeated. But if you dig a channel...
You can actually nourish parts of your life that have been completely dry for years.
Yes. By sunrise, the storm has passed. Valmere is intact, but it's permanently altered. The water didn't destroy the kingdom, it irrigated the wasteland.
And the training grounds are still there. They didn't just burn them down and give up the military, but the curriculum changed. They started teaching awareness, breath, timing.
They discovered a faith that wasn't blind, but embodied. A type of strength that doesn't need to burn bright to be powerful. It can glow softly, almost like embers.
Ready not to destroy, but to warm. That is a beautiful image to hold on to.
It summarizes the entire transit perfectly. From now until April 9th, we are officially in the season of quiet blades.
So let's bring this all down to earth for a minute. What does this all actually mean for you, the listener, navigating your everyday life in March 2026?
It means that for the next few weeks, your productivity is just going to look different. It's going to be highly cyclical.
You might have 3 straight days where you feel totally sluggish, where you just want to stare out the window and do nothing. And then suddenly you have one day of incredible flowing output where you get everything done in 4 hours.
And the primary goal is to stop judging those quiet days as failures. They are literally the inhale before the exhale.
It's also a crucial time to watch your boundaries. If you're feeling porous like Mira did, it's totally okay to close the shop for a bit. You do not have to carve a bird for everyone who asks. You don't have to listen to everyone's problems just because you can feel them so acutely right now.
Correct. And in your daily conflicts, whether that's a tense meeting at work or an argument at home, try the ash blade approach. If things get heated, just pause. Feel the current in the room. Ask yourself, am I reacting to the person in front of me, or am I reacting to the fear I can feel radiating off of them?
That distinction changes absolutely everything, because if you address the underlying fear, the conflict usually just dissolves.
It allows for true recognition rather than just seeking conquest. It's a really fascinating time we're entering. It's a little weird, a little watery, but potentially deeply transformative if we just stop trying to be machines.
We are not machines.
We are bodies of water, and sometimes we just need to flow.
I want to leave you with a final thought today, something that really struck me when we were reading about the flood in Valmere. Kalen redirected that massive floodwater into unused fields.
The fields that had been completely neglected because everyone was always too busy training for war.
Exactly. So here is the question for you to mull over this week. If you stop trying to force your life forward in a straight line, if you stop building dams and fighting the current every single day, where would the water naturally go? What unused fields in your own life, maybe a hobby you dropped years ago, a relationship you've been ignoring, or just a quiet part of your own personality you've suppressed, might finally get watered if you just let the flood happen?
That is a brilliant question worth sitting with.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Good luck out there with your ash blades.
Take care, everyone.
We'll see you next time.